Hi there, my name is Martin Newman and I am the Consumer Champion. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes of your time to watch this short video. I'm going to talk about technology, but I'm going to talk about technology maybe not in the context that you would necessarily expect me to talk about it. I'm going to talk about how it can be used to empower the colleagues in your business to do their jobs to the best of their ability, and for customers to have the experience that they really want to have with your organization, rather than the one that's often foisted upon them. I'm going to start by talking about what we can learn from disruptive brands, because I think we can learn something from them. And that is because disruptive brands essentially find a way of solving problems that customers have when engaging in more traditional sectors with traditional brands that you might think of sometimes as legacy brands who have been unable to solve for these problems already. Sometimes they've been able to solve those problems either because they're not asking the question in the first place to understand where those barriers exist for customers. Sometimes they're asking the wrong question, or sometimes, and maybe even worse, they know what the problem is, but they're too focused on the cost to serve rather than solving the problem for the customer and the benefit of solving that problem for the customer. But let's be clear, when we talk about technology, when we talk about how disruptors leverage technology, they absolutely never start with the technology itself. They always start with the problem and work out what is the problem we need to solve for, and therefore how do we use technology to do that, to provide the experience that customers are actually looking for. One of the challenges with technology and innovation is how do we forecast the rate of customer adoption? It's not an easy thing to do, because we tend to overestimate the impact of technology on the short term, but very much underestimate its impact in the long term. In other words, we think things are going to hit us harder, faster, earlier, but actually we underestimate how fundamentally different our lives are going to be as a result of new technology in the longer run. So let me give you an example of that. And a good example of that is driverless vehicles. You know, we've been talking about them for 7 to 8 years now, haven't we? Not 7 to 8 years. And yet here we are in the middle of 2022, and you will not see any driverless vehicles, i.e. without a human being manning them on the roads in our country, in the United Kingdom, nor will you see them in the States or anywhere else for that matter. They're coming, but they're not here yet. When are they coming? I don't really know, but they're certainly on their way. The Metaverse is another example, isn't it? Because it's all the rage at the moment. Everybody's talking about the Metaverse and it's getting all the media coverage. There is absolutely no doubt whatsoever. It is a game-changing innovation, and it's going to have a huge impact upon how we interact with brands and as well as how we interact with each other. But in real terms, it's in a very early stage of evolution. Can you make money on it today? You absolutely can. One example is Nike and an artist called Ferocious, with a W, that's not ferocious, ferocious. They created a new sneaker, and they sold over 600 physical pairs of sneakers and NFTs within literally a few hours, generating over $3 million in sales. So there's an opportunity there if your customer is younger and you have the right products. But for most brands, it doesn't fit necessarily the customer base in terms of where the Metaverse is at the moment and who's engaging with it. So you need to really think through who your customers are, and actually are they in that environment at this moment in time? Because for most brands with the average consumer, the average consumer is not going to be spending any real time in the Metaverse for a good number of years yet. Whereby, if we look at the here and now, if we think about what's going on at the moment, and we look at all the disruptive brands, they're having a massive impact across all consumer sectors. So whether we're talking about Uber or Just Eats or Deliveroo in the food delivery sector, of course you've got Uber also completely disrupted the taxi space, and Lyft and all the other players there. You've got Rockar, who are the technology that enables the car brands to disintermediate their sector and enable enable the brands to go direct to customers. So Jaguar, Land Rover, Hyundai, Ford and others now are able to cut out the middleman car dealer and basically go direct to the consumer, either online or through physical environments that you see popping up in Westfield and Brent Cross and other centres. And that's powered by, or they are powered by Rockar. And then of course in banking, you've got Starling Bank, you've got Revolut, you've got Monzo Bank and others who are enabling consumers to have the type of experience that they really want to have with a financial services business. rather than the one that's been foisted upon them by the more traditional banks historically. And of course, then you've got Amazon in retail, you've got Airbnb in travel, and many, many others. All of them, and I guarantee all of them, are having a massive impact on all consumer sectors, but none of them started with the technology. They all started with what is the problem we need to solve for, and how can we use technology to fix that experience for customers. That's the difference. They have an endless and a relentless focus on the customer and putting the customer at the heart of all they do. And their eyes are always on the prize of building customer lifetime value and the value to their business of doing so. Whereas the legacy players, well, they're focused on the cost to serve. And the former turns customers into fans, because as customers, we have the experience we're really looking for. It's super convenient. It puts us in control. Therefore, we start that process of becoming a fan of the brand that we're engaging with. The latter, well, it does the opposite. It puts barriers in place because we're essentially having to jump through all these hurdles that the legacy brands have put in our way, which makes it difficult. Often we don't end up completing our purchase. We go elsewhere, whilst we go on social media and tell everybody else what a terrible time we had. The best ever marketing campaign, when you think about it, the best ever customer retention campaign of all time is Amazon Prime. And the reason why I want to mention that is, technology is at the heart of that, as is the product proposition. So what did Amazon do? Well, Amazon said, well, you know what? We could sell this proposition where customers give us cash that we can use to put into our business to continually improve what we do and make us even better at what we do. And we can continue to add more and more product categories, which makes customers even stickier. And while we're doing that, we'll add content and entertainment and media and other things. And lo and behold, customers find it hard to go elsewhere because they've got a great product proposition and they've already paid for Amazon Prime. So they know that their free deliveries are there anytime, they want to use them and they want to engage with Amazon. Can you imagine pitching that to a CFO of a legacy retail business? Because that person, he or she, would have said to you, because I know, because it happened to me many times, would have looked you in the whites of the eye and said, what's the return on investment? And you wouldn't have been able to answer that. Why? Because it hadn't been done before. Whereas if you'd been looking at return on involvement, then you could have said, well, actually, I could be pretty confident that customers are going to keep coming back if we do this and if we offer this. And at the end of the day, when you really think of it, at its heart, technology is about empowerment. How do you use technology to empower your customers to have the experience that they want to have, the convenience that they want to have, rather than the one you foist upon them? And how do you empower your colleagues to be able to do their jobs to the best of their ability? Both of these are going to have a massive impact on both the short, medium, and long-term commercial viability and sustainability of your business.